All right, we're in chapter 20 of the book of Judges, and we saw last week really some really immoral acts that were committed, and it wound up with a woman being cut up and basically mailed out to all the other tribes of Israel. And we're going to see here in chapter 20 how they're going to deal with this. But it all starts when, and as I've read through the book of Judges and studying and praying that God would help us, it really reminds me of a lot of times of things that goes on in our own country. Because, and it may not be the same acts, but it brings about the same result. When you have folks that don't want anything to do with God, they push Him to the side. That's the beginning of troubles. And then once they do that, then it begins to be more immoral in a society, accepting anything and everything. And then once that happens, then you begin to have really a breakdown in the government where, you just have anything and everything passed in your government, and it really tears your country down. And, that's kind of what happened with the tribe of Benjamin, with allowing this kind of immorality to go on and really to accept it. But we begin in chapter 20 in verse 1, and it says, "Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man from Dan even to Beersheba with the land of Gilead unto the Lord in Mizpah." And where it says that they were gathered from Dan even to Beersheba, when it's described like that, it's describing from the north all the way to the southern end of the nation of Israel. Even though you got the 12 tribes, but that describes the whole land, all the tribes. So they had all come out to hear what was going to be said. And the chief of all the people, even of all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 footmen that drew swords. So, they're basically trying to raise an army to go and, if need be, to take care of what has happened. You get a body part in the mail, I'd want to find out what's going on. And that's what they're doing. And they've assembled 400,000 footmen that had swords. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. Then said the children of Israel, "Tell us, how was this wickedness?" So the Levite, that it was his concubine, they're asking him, "Tell us how this took place." But, he shares basically the truth, but he doesn't give a lot of details. So, he should have told the whole story. But he begins, "Then the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said, I came into Gibeah, that belongeth to Benjamin, I and my concubine to lodge." Well, we just came in to spend the night. "And the men of Gibeah rose against me and beset the house round about upon me by night, and thought to have slain me, and my concubine have they forced that she is dead." So he really doesn't tell the whole story, because they did surround the place where he was at, but they were actually wanting him. That's how immoral it had gotten. If you remember last week, we kind of compared it to Sodom and Gomorrah. And you know, that's what happens when you have a breakdown in serving God. Look at our country. There's a remnant that's still serving God. And I think that really the praying people in this country is what has held off the judgment of God so long. But look at our country, where we're at. Lord have mercy, there's a lot of evil going on. A lot of immorality. But he didn't describe the whole story. He told just the basic truth and let it go at that. And he says, and I took my concubine and cut her in pieces and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel, for they have committed lewdness and folly in Israel. I cut her up and sent her out to every tribe so that you would know that there was folly and lewdness in Israel. You would know that there's something bad taking place. So, you know, they've all gathered, got 400,000 soldiers here. Behold, ye are all children of Israel. Give here your advice and counsel. So he's like, what do we need to do? And all the people arose as one man, saying, we will not any of us go to his tent, neither will any of us turn into his house. But now this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up by lot against it. So, you know, they're not going to take the whole 100,000 down, or 400,000. They're going to go by lot. They're going to take so many from each tribe to go and to take care of the problem at Gibeah. And we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to fetch victuals for the people, that they may do when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they have wrought in Israel. So we're going to take this amount of forces with us, and victuals to feed everybody, and we're going to go and take care of this folly that's taking place at Gibeah. We're going to do whatever needs to be done. And now, you know, if you get back to the laws that God gave them, you know, those laws gave really a penalty of death. But then, well, we'll get to this in just a minute, how they go about getting into fighting the men of Gibeah. So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. So here they come. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, what wickedness is that is done among you? So they send in folks, why have you done this wickedness? What's this wickedness that you're doing? Why are you committing these immoral acts? Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which would be sinners of Satan, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death and put away evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. So they give them an opportunity. Just give us the men that have committed this ungodly act. We'll put them to death, and that'll do away with the folly in the tribe of Benjamin. But it probably wasn't going to take care of all of them that had went astray. But they didn't want to give any up. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah to go out to battle against the children of Israel. They're not going to give anybody up. We'll just fight you. So, you know, that leads me to understand that a majority of the people in this tribe of Benjamin had forsaken God. They didn't want to give up the men that had committed the sin. They didn't want to give up the ones that had taken this lady and done all this and basically killed her. So we'll just fight you. And, you know, here, and it reminds me so much of our country. Here in our country, you know, there's been times where it's been up closer to like between 85 and 90% that believed in God. Now, they weren't all in church every Sunday, but they would say they believed in God. That number has went way down. See, we keep pushing God further and further away. And you see what condition our country's in. That's what's happened to the tribe of Benjamin. They've pushed God out of the way. These folks, hey, they're our brothers. They live right here amongst us. We're going to fight for them. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at the time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. So they had 26,700 men. Among all this people, there were 700 chosen men left-handed. Every one could sling stones at an hair breadth and not miss. You know, they could take at a slingshot distance, and they're going to knock you out with a rock. Be kind of like David when he was fighting Goliath. He slung that rock, and it hit Goliath right between the eyes and killed him. These 700 men, left-handed, were extremely accurate with a slingshot. When they let go of a rock, it hit the target. So, you know, they're thinking, we're going to take care of Israel, the rest of Israel. And the men of Israel, besides Benjamin, were numbered 400,000 men that drew sword. All these were men of war. So we read about the 400,000. And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God and asked counsel of God and said, which of us shall go up first to battle against the children of Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. So they are, you know, the rest of Israel is trying to do something right. They did go to the temple and begin to inquire of God. God, which one of us needs to go out front? Which one of us needs to go to battle first? So God told them, send Judah. And the children of Israel rose up in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. The men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. So they put themselves in danger. The children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men. So 22,000 were killed out of the tribe that came first. You know, God had told them who to send first. And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and set their battle again in array in the place where they put themselves in array the first day. So they go back again. They go back to the same place and they put themselves in danger again. The same spot they were at the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until even, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, shall I go up again to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother? And the Lord said, go up against him. And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel again 18,000 men. All these drew the sword. So we've lost 22,000 and we've lost 18,000. So we've lost 40,000 altogether within a couple of days. Why do you think, they're going up and asking God, do we need to go do this? God told them to go. God told them to send Judah first. Why do you think they're being defeated? A lot of speculation, but there's really nothing in Scripture that shares why they were defeated, other than they were not following everything that God said, possibly. So 40,000 of them within 2 days have died. Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came into the house of God and wept, and sat there before the Lord and fasted that day until even, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. Now they're doing something a little different. Now they're offering burnt offerings and peace offerings to God. They fasted all day. The children of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. Now we hear about the priest. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand. You go tomorrow, I'm going to deliver Benjamin into your hand. So, they really had to have faith in God. I mean, they've already lost 40,000 people in 2 days. Now they fasted, they'd offered offerings to God. Then we hear about the priest seeking God. But a little different than the first 2 times that they went up and inquired of God. So now, God says, Go tomorrow, I'll deliver them into thine hand. And Israel set liers in wait round about Gibeah, which is, they've set an ambush. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the 3rd day and put themselves in array against Gibeah, as at other times. They put themselves in danger again. And the children of Benjamin went out against the people and were drawn away from the city. And they began to smite of the people and kill, as at other times, in the highways, of which one goeth up to the house of God, and the other to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. So it's a big difference. They've got themselves in a mess here, but now, just like God had said, I'm going to deliver them into your hand. Only 30 men has died up to this point instead of thousands. And the children of Benjamin said, They are smitten down before us as at the first. But the children of Israel said, Let us flee and draw them from the city unto the highways. And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place and put themselves in array at Baal Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. So they were drawing them away from their protection of the cities, out into the countryside, on the highways and byways. And then the ones they had lying in wait could come up behind them. So they're pretty much just going to surround the fighting men of Benjamin. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of Israel. And the battle was sore. It was a terrible battle. But they knew not that evil was near them. You know, these men of Gibeah, they were evil to begin with by the acts that they had committed. And the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel. And the children of Israel destroyed of the Benjamites that day 25,000 and 100 men. All these drew the sword. Now, you know, Benjamin was one of the smallest tribes. They've taken 25,100 men. They're gone that quick. So the tribe of Benjamin is going to have a problem. They're not, how are they going to carry on that tribe? Because there's not a lot of men left. So, you know, when you do things evil, folks may get away with it for a while, but it'll catch up with them. Just like with the Benjamites, the evil that they were doing, that the wickedness that was going on in this tribe and around the city of Gibeah. They enjoyed sin for a season. That's what the Bible says. Now, you know, it's come back to haunt them. It's come back, the payday has come. So 25,100 men gone. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites because they trusted unto the liars in wait which they had get beside Gibeah. So that's what helped them to defeat the Benjamites. And God had told them, I'm going to deliver them into your hands. And the liers in wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah, and the liers in wait drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Not only did they lose 25,100, that whole city of Gibeah was taken out. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with the smoke rise up out of the city. So, you know, they would see the smoke and they'd know that, hey, we've got it. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel about 30 persons, for they said, surely they are smitten down before us as in the first battle. But they weren't. But when the flame began to rise up out of the city with a pillow of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. They knew they were in trouble. They knew they had been defeated. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. You know, they're getting, you know, it's kind of like you reap what you sow. You sow evil, you're going to reap evil. So they saw that evil had come upon them. They're about to die. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel into the way of the wilderness. But the battle overtook them, and which came out of the cities, and they destroyed in the midst of them. So a pile of Benjamites are killed. So how is this tribe going to continue? One of the smallest tribes, and now a big chunk of their men are gone. And we'll find out in the next chapter about that. But thus they enclosed the Benjamites round about and chased them, and trod them down with ease over against Gibeah toward the sun rising, towards the east. They just followed them and kept battling and destroyed them. You know, God had told them, I'll deliver them into your hand tomorrow. You go up against them tomorrow, they're yours. Now, and again, in that night before the third day, they had fasted, they had burnt offerings to God, and then they had the priest there seeking God for them. Phinehas, who was in the lineage of Aaron. So Phinehas is the high priest. He's the one that can stand near the Ark of the Covenant and seek God for Israel. And that's where he was at. And he had helped, and God shared with him, and he told these people, go up, God's going to give it to you. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men, all were men of valor. So, we've lost 25,100, now we've lost another 18,000 Benjamites. So, 43,000 or so. That's a lot of people. And they turned and fled toward the wilderness into the rock of Rimmon. And they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men, and pursued hard after them into Gidom, and slew 2,000 men of them. So now they're up to a little over 45,000 men. But, it's kind of like an old saying, if you dance to the music, you got to pay the fiddler at some point. They had done all this evil. They were committing ungodly acts. They were doing things that God had said was an abomination to him. Because the Levite really didn't share the whole story. These men came around the house or the lodge where I was at and wanted to kill me and my concubine, and they took her and had their way with her, forced her, and she's dead. He didn't share that these men wanted him to begin with. So they were committing acts that were an abomination to God. Sin has to be paid for. And I know, and I've thought this before, probably basically every one of us may have at some point in time. You do your best to serve God, and it seems like folks out there in the world just do better, but they're not. The Bible says that all they got is what they've got in this world. Look what we've got. We've got something hereafter. So we're so blessed, it beyond compare. I don't want to go back to the things of the world. I don't want to live like the world anymore. If I don't have anything, if I've got Jesus, I've got everything I need. Everything. We're more blessed, we're more valuable. Some of the scriptures we've read in our Sunday school and maybe last Sunday morning's message about wisdom. To have that wisdom of God is better than gold and better than silver. So to be godly and righteous is better than all the riches in the world. So don't ever think, just because that person looks like they're doing better, don't let Satan get you to that. I've thought that before. I don't know if anybody else has. I have. I'm like, Lord have mercy, look like they're doing better out yonder. But then I think and I realize all that God's done for me. And I'm like, God, forgive me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even have thought that. Because if we know Him, we're one of His children. These folks, we were up to around 45,000, maybe a little over 45,000 that have died of the Benjamite men. So that all which fell that day of Benjamin were 20 and 5,000 men that drew sword. All these were men of valor. Now, that was the first group that we read about. 25,000. But 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness and to the rock of Rimmon, and abode in the rock Rimmon 4 months. They went to the hills. They were afraid to come back out. They lived in the hills and the caves and the wilderness and the mountainous areas for 4 months. How sad. If we live like the world, it'll get us out in the wilderness out yonder somewhere we don't want to be. These folks were out there for 4 months. They were afraid. All of Israel had come against that one tribe because of the immorality, because of those body parts being mailed to all the other tribes. Now, how they got them there, I'm just using mailing because we mail stuff. But ever how they got it to them, runners carrying it, whatever, they got it to every tribe, a part of the body of that lady that died. That Levite knew, if I send these body parts, it's going to get their attention. And it did. They came to inquire, what in the world's going on? So he began to tell them. He began to tell them about the folly and the wickedness that was going on in the tribe of Benjamin. 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness and to the rock Rimmon, and abode in the rock Rimmon 4 months. And the men of Israel turned again upon the children of Benjamin, and smote them with the edge of the sword, as well the men of every city as the beast, and all that came to hand. Also they set on fire all the cities that they came to. Lord, they came and wreaked havoc of the tribe of Benjamin. Every city they came to, they were killing everybody, animals, everything. Burning the cities behind them. Going on to the next one. It wreaked havoc in the tribe of Benjamin. You know what? Sin will wreak havoc in people's lives. It'll carry you to a lake of fire. It'll carry you to a separation from God. And these folks were totally separated. These folks were out of hand. But, it's going to spread. It's not just going to be the tribe of Benjamin. And we'll see that as we go through Scripture. But they were not the only bad folks. There were others. But we'll get to that later. Anybody have anything on this chapter, any of these verses?